Welcome to Moon Monkey. On this episode, we're going to be talking about Victoria, directed by Sebastian Schipper.
We have to do something. Please, can you help us?
Okay.
Yeah?
No problem. I'm the big driver.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Bei einer Privatbank, Limburg & Co. Wir wissen, dass in dem kleinen Tresor 50.000 Euro liegen. Und die will ich haben. Du schuldest mir was.
Machen wir nicht.
Hey.
Hey!
Hey, wir machen safe. Hey, wir machen so.
You don't have to do this. Really, you don't have to do this.
Sona, I want to go with you. The car is not going on! The car is not going on!
I'm not a bad guy. I did a bad thing, okay? Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
I'm gonna take the baby because we need your help. Come on!
So what happens in Victoria is you're introduced to a girl dancing in an underground Berlin club, and she's on the way out. There's this 4 German guys that can't get into the club, and they're like, "Oh, is it good inside?" And one of them likes her. Spark between them, I would say, and she has a bond with one in particular as they leave the club. They're walking through Berlin, and she has a bond with Zonny, I think it is. And there's a bit of a romance there. They're just kind of wandering around Berlin. They go to a rooftop, a cafe, different kind of sights in Berlin. And it's just a lot of drinking and talking, getting to know each kind of character. It's very kind of realistic. And then a phone call quickly turns it into something a lot more darker and sinister.
Yeah, it's a very, very realistic film. There's it gets a little not stranger towards the end, but like there is a little bit of violence and threat introduced. But the whole thing is done realistically. There's never a moment where you think, "Oh, it's getting a bit ridiculous." Yeah. So the 4 guys are kind of showing. Well, they say like they'll show around Berlin.
Real Berlin.
Yeah, show her the real Berlin. The first bit, the film kind of always keeps you guessing and wondering what's going to happen next. Like at the very beginning, like first 10 minutes when she comes out of the club and meets the guys, I thought like, oh, this is like something terrible is going to happen to her here, or it's going to be her trying to escape from these guys. But yeah, very quickly kind of turns away from that. So
yeah, they kind of bond. And it's
I thought that was
sweet in a way.
I thought that was really good. The actors in the film were fantastic. Laia Costa, who plays Victoria, did an amazing job.
Yeah, Spanish actress.
Because she's pretty much in the film the whole way through. She's not really off screen all that much.
There's very few frames that it's not containing Victoria.
Yeah, that she's not in it. But she was incredible. Spanish actress. Yeah. The whole film it's a German production, but they largely speak kind of German/English, because obviously she's Spanish. She's playing a Spanish person as well as being Spanish, and the 4 guys are German, so they're conversing with her in English and conversing with each other in German. The idea is like she doesn't really speak German. She's only in the city for 3 months, so they're having to speak English to her and German to each other, which I thought was really interesting, and it made you listen carefully to what they were saying especially near the beginning, because the four guys are like talking over each other and joking and stuff, and you're really trying to listen closely for what's going on and what's happening, in case you miss, because you think like, oh, I might miss something that's important to the plot here, so you're listening really carefully. The other actors were all really good as well. Like Zona was in it a lot as well.
Yeah, they make Frederick Lau. He was really good. He does look a bit like Frank Lampard.
But yeah, he did a really good job and was kind of like a really likable character towards the end. At first, I thought like, oh, this guy, because I think they are they all drunk at the beginning or something? They just seem like
it's like 4 a.m. Everybody's been out for a while.
There's like that little touch of danger. And one of the things that I liked about this film was you felt that sense of danger all the way through it, because the whole thing, the whole film is shot on a kind of handheld camera, and it's all shot in one take. And I think that added to the sense of danger through it, that you think like anything could happen here. One of the scenes that I mentioned to you, when they go up onto the rooftop, and like this is near the beginning of the film. There's like a bit where she kind of sits on the edge of the roof, and they're obviously pretty high up. Now, in a regular film, you wouldn't be worried at all, because you'd think, oh, they've obviously set up like scaffolding, and it's like she's not going to fall off, and it's all, or it's like it's done in a studio. But in this, because you know that they're on a real building, and she is actually sat up there, there's a sense of, oh, like obviously nothing happened, or they wouldn't have released the movie. But you just think it's somehow.
You're always worried what's going to go on.
Yeah, it gives you that feeling of tension. Also, like, I suppose, like, when they were filming it, one of the things is, like, anything really could have happened. Like, anybody could have, like, walked through the background, really. They probably closed off streets, but you kind of get the sense that, anything could happen here.
It is kind of mostly about Victoria and Zonny, but there is, like, obviously Boxer and Blinker and Foos.
Yeah.
They're all in it to varying degrees.
The other friends.
But it's all the kind of the interaction between the four German guys to begin with, and then Victoria kind of becomes part of that group and involved in what's going on in their lives more than you would thought, considering they just met hours ago.
But yeah, the four guys did a great job. Like Franz Reganci plays Boxer, Max Mouth playing Foos, and Barack Yeaget playing Blinker.
Yeah,
and they did a great job of like they're like four friends who you really get the sense that like they are best friends that would do anything for each other.
Yeah.
It's like from that opening scene on the roof is where like you really. That kind of sets up the whole movie, because you find out stuff about Boxer's past, which feeds into the plot, and you kind of see the relationship between them, which will become quite strained throughout the film. But that's the point at which you get the setup of what's going to happen here.
Maybe like the background about it is, I don't know if we've said yet that it is. Have we said it's all done in one shot? We said that.
I mentioned it, but we can talk about that.
Well, like they rehearsed it over 2 months, quite intensively, and there's only, I didn't know this at the time. I thought it was all quite scripted and stuff, but there's only like the director Sebastian Schieper. He only had 12 pages of script, and the rest of it was all the actors just ad-libbing, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, I wondered about that.
There's constantly like Blinker will be referring to Victoria like sister, and he was like, I never told him to do that. But I thought like it worked really well. It was just like little things like that, and the way they like the four guys would interact with each other, like just swearing at each other and kind of taking the piss.
Yeah,
it was kind of natural, and it wasn't like scripted to be like that. It's just the way they decided to do it.
I did wonder like how much of it was scripted, because there is stuff when they're joking around where you think like that would have been really complex to script that. Like it's more likely that they are just like messing about.
Well, like they did, like you said, they did three takes over the 3 nights, and they were like, this is all we could afford. But I think over those 3 nights, they just kind of they were so, and they rehearsed for 2 months as well.
Yeah, they basically did it. Yeah, they did it 3 times through. So from basically start to finish, there are no cuts in the film, which is like quite an impressive feat. I suppose anyone who's like makes films or knows about films knows that's pretty impressive. They hardly ever do it.
But the great thing about there only being the 12 pages of script and the rough outline is, if you go off script, it doesn't matter.
I think they used. Did they use like the second one? I'm not sure, but I think they maybe used the second.
I think they used the third night.
Oh, they used the last night.
I think they used the last night.
But apparently, the director did say to the studio, if this doesn't work, I am gonna like cut it, do like jump cuts, so it makes sense. But it apparently said that was really bad. Like, they did do a cut of the film where it does actually cut between certain things, but he said, yeah, it looks terrible.
I think it works so well, the way they've done it.
Yeah. There were things in it where, like, the film doesn't really draw attention to the fact that it's all one take. That was what was most impressive about it. There were a couple of scenes we talked about afterwards where people get into cars and out of cars, and various things happen. I suppose even getting in and out of the lift, where you think, yeah, how did they do that? That's really impressive. But you weren't really thinking that throughout the film. You were so involved with the characters.
You really do become immersed in it because it's you're just in there, and it's so. It's not even. I don't know if it's documentary, but you're just there. You're immersed in that kind of world. You're in that night with them. It
was a little like Birdman. That's one of the things like it got compared to on the trailers. Like, this is the new kind of Birdman. Which, Birdman had the same thing. Like, at the first, you were kind of focused on the fact that, like, oh, this is not cutting, this is all one take. But then you soon kind of got immersed into the film. With this one, the difference between this and Birdman, I would say Birdman has a lot smoother movements, whereas this is handheld and has a real, like, realistic...
Birdman feels polished and directed.
Yeah.
And although, like, technically quite impressive, this feels more impressive because it is just one guy running around with a handheld camera. I mean, I think they started at 4:40am and then stopped at 6:54am.
Yeah.
And non-stop, and it's just this one cameraman running around.
But Birdman, you're kind of maybe more aware of the camera.
Yeah.
Because it's smoother movements, you're more aware that, like, oh, I'm watching this through a camera. Yeah. Whereas this, there were scenes in it where you completely forgot that you're actually watching it through the camera. You just feel as though you're there.
Yeah.
A lot of people have described this like a roller coaster. Like, you actually feel as though you're sitting with them and running after them and stuff when they're running down the street and the camera's going after them.
I was physically and emotionally drained at the end of it. I was like, oh god, I need to lie down.
Yeah.
Like, this has been a hell of a night for everyone.
It's not necessarily kind of nauseous. Like, some people I know don't like this kind of thing because it's shaking.
No, I wouldn't.
But I don't think it was.
It's not like Blair Witch.
Like, what's the other film? The beginning of Saving Private Ryan. I think that was the first one where they did like the shaky cam and it's like running up the beach with them. And a lot of people feel like, oh, it's like too much. But this film wasn't too bad for
It wasn't like Cloverfield or anything like that.
There were a couple of scenes where he's like running after them and things.
But it is still quite smooth. Like, you feel like you're just there. It's not just all...
Yeah. The music in the film, done by Niels Fram, and a couple of dance tracks by DJ Koza, like the beginning, and then later on in the film they return to the scene of the club that you see at the very beginning. The music was really good. Kind of, it came in sometimes, like, the music would just kind of start swelling and come in and like just added a lot of emotion to different scenes. But I thought the music was that good. It wasn't like jingles or theme tunes or anything. It was just a kind of understated score.
Yeah, the music in the club really adds to the feeling when they're in there. And there's also a scene where a character plays the piano, which is like a really beautiful scene.
Yeah,
that's like really moving. I think there is a bit in the club where Victoria is shouting, "I don't want to go," and that's actually to the director because the director's shouting. But I think like post production, sound wise, the director was always there telling them, "Go that way, go this way."
Yeah.
And stuff like that, but that's taken out like post production. That's the only bit of post production I think that's right done. But like, she's actually shouting to the director, "I don't want to go," and it's in the movie, but it's not. She's not speaking to anybody in the movie world. She's just talking to the director, saying, "I'm having too good a time here. I don't want to leave," which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, the music in it it's done in a subtle way because most of it's kind of within the movie world, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, the opening scene was like heavy dance music and flashing lights with her in the club, but like you really do get the sense that you're involved in the club. And then when she goes to get a drink and stuff,
I felt so sorry for her because she's just wanting somebody to kind of dance with her. She doesn't know anybody, and she's trying to have a conversation with the barman. He's just not interested. At all. She's like, "Are you Swedish?" And he's just like, "No."
But that's kind of realistic.
I know, I know. But you just she felt kind of so alone and so vulnerable in that city. And then there's like 4 German guys outside, and you're like, "What's going to happen here?"
And that's why she joined those guys. That was the thing in it. Like, probably helped by it not being overly scripted, but you really got a sense that these were real characters. They weren't made up. They felt like real people.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like Victoria felt like you can kind of imagine that kind of person. And all the German guys, you kind of imagine people like that. the story of the film, like, was quite interesting. I don't know if I would say it's a kind of plot that's been done before in films, but just not in this way where you're so totally immersed in that world. But yeah, the plot was quite strong, and it had a good kind of crescendo to it. Like it started off, like we say, with like a slow build up with the guys, but then a lot of humor at the beginning because they were laughing around, and then when it gets darker, you really feel like, oh, I suppose that again, like the roller coaster metaphor, it's like a build up and then like quite exciting.
It's like the how badly a night can go.
Yeah, but it went through so many like twists and turns. Like there's a scene where, like we said, the scene where she's playing the piano. And then you think the film's going to go one way, and then at that scene, there's like the characters split up, and you think, okay, are we going to go somewhere else now? And then they come back, and oh, now we're like suddenly back in this crazy world.
I think the director said, I saw a little like thing on YouTube where they were talking about just like the cast and crew, like opening night or something, and he said he wanted to make a movie for the nervous system, and I think he really succeeded in that because I was like, it really puts you into their world and that night, and you're there and you're like, oh my god, what's going to happen? Are they going to do this? You know, because we never really said at the start. We're trying to keep it non-spoiler, but there's a phone call and Boxer's to do something he doesn't necessarily want to do, and it's like, well, his friends help him. Should they help him? And Victoria's there, and does she need to get involved? And she does, and it has consequences for everybody. But it's all because Fox has to do this thing. Yeah.
It's kind of like the main themes of the film, trying not to give too much away, is like friendship and loyalty, I suppose. Yeah. And kind of how far would your friends, will your friends go for you? Like, somewhat, in another review I read of it, it's like Victoria, like you said, has to do something quite extreme towards the end of the film, or involved in something quite extreme. But they said there's a scene earlier on where she does something which kind of builds up to it. Like, it doesn't just happen suddenly. Mm. There's, like, stuff that she does building up to it, and stuff that you learn about her character, which you think, like, okay, yeah, I can kind of imagine her doing this.
Yeah.
Like, it goes quite... It is really exciting. Like, a lot of people might think this kind of thing where it's, like, hyper-realistic, like, not a lot happens, because it's just, like, a regular day. But it's not a regular day at all. It does go very, like, this is something that would not usually happen to you.
But I think, like, most people on a regular day at 4 a.m. would have probably, if they met somebody outside the club, 4 random strangers, like, even the actress, like, Leia Costa, she said, if it had been me and not Victoria at 4 a.m. in Berlin, I would have just went, like, oh, I've got work in, like, an hour or 2 or something. Yeah. I'm going to go home. Yeah. She wouldn't have done what Victoria did. So it's not, in a way, it's not a normal evening, but it's like how... Yeah.
Well, obviously, like, if they'd have filmed just a regular day, that wouldn't have made much of a movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. It's not necessarily, like, a normal...
She goes home, gets some sleep, goes to work.
I know, it's not a normal day, but it kind of is, like, just, like, it could happen to anybody. It just shows, like... In a way, like, it depends who you meet and stuff like that. But it is just, like, about them wanting to be free and just have a good time, and, like, they just start off, they're, like, stealing a beer, and they just want to sit on the rooftops and talk. Yeah. You know, it's, like, quite a kind of sweet romantic kind of way, I think.
Yeah, that was the thing. That's what I'm saying. You didn't really know where it's going to go, because her romance with Zona, you think, like, is it just going to be like a romantic film? Is it just going to be them two? Yeah, getting together.
It's just amazing how it escalates, because it's just like it's like a totally different movie at one point, and then it just totally veers off. Yeah, and goes into this really kind of darker.
Yeah, darker takes world. a lot of kind of interesting turns. Yeah, but I would definitely recommend this movie, I think, to anyone. Just purely for the fact that it is all in one take, so it's an impressive feat. Like, it's an impressive thing to watch, and you will never have seen anything quite like this experience. Yeah. It's like, it's an experience as much as it is a film as well. Like, you wouldn't have experienced anything quite like that before, I don't think.
I don't know about you, but, like, part of the reason I wanted to see it was because there was, like, stuff saying, it's a technological achievement that they've managed to do this, but it's not just about the gimmick of the one shot, because the story is so good, and the characters are so strong.
Yeah,
And the way it is shot, obviously adds to it because you feel like you are there, and it is like an emotional roller coaster or a movie for the nervous system. But there's more to it than just the technical side of it, which is why I went.
Yeah,
but the story is so good, and the performances are so good.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, fantastic performances and a good story, but yeah, the one take, like the way it was done, kind of gives a different flavour to this compared to other films, which might have a similar plot, I would say.
Yeah, it's a really fantastic movie though.
Yeah,
like, I think more stuff should be done with this. Obviously, it's probably a complete pain in the arse to film and do, because it's.
Yeah,
I think the director says this was a.
I think, like, some people have said, like this technique, like,
it's tough.
It's kind of a gimmick, the one take, but they said it has to be done for the right kind of film. Like, you couldn't just do this for any film.
Can't. Like, I mean,
it's a very specific. It has to be a very specific plot. Like, that was the thing. Birdman, like the way Birdman worked, looked like one take, but it was actually playing out like a few different nights. It was just a weird kind of. The way they did it made it look as though you're watching a continuous thing, but actually you're aware that time's passing quick, like they're going from day to night to day to night. Whereas this was actually the duration of the film is actually how long. Yeah,
that's in real time.
In real time, yeah.
But like, you're right, it wouldn't work in everything because like the review we're going to do next is Civil War, and it really, you can do that.
Yeah,
you can do Civil War one day. But this was just I would totally recommend this. I think for anyone. Maybe not if you don't like subtitles, but there's enough English in there as well for like people that are like, it's subtitles.
Yeah,
there's enough.
But I highly recommend this. Like, it'll draw you in, and you'll really have a great time with this film, I think. Next time we're going to be discussing Captain America: Civil War, so make sure you check back to that, and make sure you like and subscribe.